we have the man, the myth, the legend, David Meltzer is coming on the phone next. I am great, alive, and well, and blessed.
Nice. Thanks for doing this. I like that studio, man. I like the Chinese curtain behind you.
Oh, yeah, the shoji screen. I'm half Japanese, so I was like, instead of setting up like a whole studio, I was like, I'm just going to, boom, keep it simple and cheap.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking about getting my own step and repeat the same way, just like a playbook behind me or something.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be sick.
Or add David Meltzer. Like, get a sign that says "add David Meltzer."
I don't know. I like all the stuff you got behind you though. You got all the sports stuff. That's right in your alley too.
Yeah, that's the Playbook Hall of Fame, man. I got tons of cool stuff there.
Oh wow, yeah, man. Like you got to do it.
Yeah.
So I know we're really tight on time. So we'll just dive right into it. Nothing that you're not used to. So real quick, what's the 5-minute pitch on who you are, where you came from, and because everybody knows the who you are now, and so I don't think a lot of people knew the before you were who you were.
Yeah. Nice. So I just real briefly, the 5-minute. I grew up poor in Akron, Ohio, with a single mom, 6 kids, wanting to be rich to buy her a house and a car because I was so happy. Otherwise, time when my mom was crying because something broke down, or we were packing brown paper bag dinners in a Country Squire station wagon when she moved to her second job, and all of us had to pile in there. I was 5 years old. My dad left back in the 70s when you didn't have to pay child support, and made good money, had a wife that was closer to my age than his, and all types of things that drove me to be completely a beast about making money and understanding money was going to buy the happiness that I was missing in my life. And I wanted to reward my mom. I always tell people, they're like, don't worry about why. I already know everybody's why. Everybody's why is real simple. It's, I want to help blank. That's everybody's why.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So, you want to help your mom, you want to help, the community, you want to help Africa. I don't care. You want to help people, kids with AIDS, kids with, whatever it is, that's your why. But what people neglect is the what. And, what do you want? Well, I was lucky because out of desperation, I knew what I wanted. I wanted money, know, and I didn't care how I got it, to be honest. I didn't care. I thought that this was the missing link in my life, and money bought happiness, and it didn't buy it. It would rent it for me. I was fine. So through, first trying to play football, got a, scholarship to college and got ran over in college and realized my mom was right, doctor, lawyer for failure. So I didn't want to be a failure. So I went and figured I'd be a doctor. And then most valuable lesson still this day, my oldest brother taught me, because I literally was 18 years old wanting to be a doctor in pre-med. And I didn't know that doctors had to study in hospitals, like have to be in hospitals. I thought of like a sports doctor you would learn on the sports field or in the training room. I had no idea. So my brother told me, when I told him I hated hospitals and I'm pre-med, my brother was a doctor. He's like, are you kidding? David, you need to slow down. You need to be more interested than interesting. And that's a really valuable lesson, because so many people are going through life and they don't see the trees through the forest. They literally are not interested in what they're doing, and they're lost, and they're so far in their own way. Ended up switching to be a lawyer. Now, this is where I did get interested. I tell people all the time, I reversed engineered my law school. I worked really hard. I worked really smart and really long about going to law school. And I decided that I was going to go to law school that had most likely statistical chance of paying me a lot of money when I graduated, because I wanted to make money.
There you go.
So I found out through being more interested that oil and gas litigators made the most money out of law school. So I went to Tulane University because they had the best maritime law program, had the most guys working at oil companies. Ironically, when I graduated, not only did I have a job litigating in the oil and gas space, but more importantly, I got a job in the internet in the early 90s, like this 9600 baud XD computer DOS internet, like .edu internet.
So internet 1.0, web 1.0,
man. And I ended up not listening to my mom. Lesson number 2, she told me, do not work in the internet. It's a fad. The internet's going to die. Nothing, like, literally is going to help you. And I'm like, you know what? Just because my mom loves me doesn't mean she's giving me good advice. I've never been one to put faith in what other people wanted from me. Everyone said that I could never play football, small little Jewish kid. And I put faith in myself, and I made
Uh-huh.
it way farther than anyone ever dreamed I'd make it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make internet my career. And I worked smart, hard, and long, made $1 million right out of law school, 9 months out of law school, by literally working twice as productive in the hours, twice as efficient, and twice as statistically successful,
Uh-huh.
7 days a week.
There
That,
you
believe
go.
it or not, equals 56 days a week I was working compared to a normal person.
Yeah.
So although I made $1 million, I always say I really only made 100 grand. I just worked 10 years in 9 months.
You just shortened the growth curve,
I
right?
sort of, yeah, exactly. And I just was doing an interview with another guy, and he's a math guy, and he's like, well, I know that I got to call 400 people to get one listing, and out of those listings, I got to knock on 1,000 doors a month, so that's 50 a day. You got to do the math,
It's
man. You got to
numbers.
be,
It's a numbers game.
you got to, man, and then you can get better at the numbers. When you know you're running a 5 minute mile, you can break the 5 minute mile. But if you don't know any of those numbers, and that's why data is so important. But most importantly, we sold that company for $3.4 billion in 1995, when a lot of
Okay.
companies weren't selling for $1 billion. I took advantage of that trajectory. I went to the Silicon Valley, to Sand Hill Road, raised, over $100 million for a startup in the middleware space, wireless
Okay.
proxy server space. Then ended up CEO of the world's first smartphone, the world's first Windows CE device, the world's first true convergence device. They didn't call them smartphones.
Yeah.
And I literally, at that time in my life, early 30s, I believe money bought happiness. I married my dream girl from the fourth grade. I had three gorgeous daughters. I had 33 homes, a ski mountain. I had a golf course that was eighth best in the nation, designed by Sam Snead. But I got a warning from my dad, my first warning, that I was on the wrong path. Besides my mom and my wife always telling me I was lost and that money didn't buy happiness,
Yeah,
my
because
dad,
because on paper you had made it. On
oh,
paper.
more than on paper,
On
man, in
paper
real
you had
life, I
made it,
made it.
like you made it, but it's always one of those things. Some of the, one of your good friends, and I'm so glad that I finally saw some video clips with you, Gary Vaynerchuk. Love that dude. That
Yeah,
guy's
me
like,
too.
his everything is just fire. So I want to kind of bring that into the conversation too, because I'm almost certain that your life took a real turn once you really started kind of hanging with him and
Yeah,
getting a lot of his advice. But like a
yeah,
lot of people think money's gonna buy it, and it's like there's a whole other side to the game. It's not, money's only half of it.
yeah. No, and so that's interesting because these warnings came. Number one, from my dad, right? He gave me he forgot my birthday when I was 10, and I hated the guy for years, but he
Hmm.
sent me a jacket with no pockets. I'm like, what's this for? And he said, to remind you, you're just like me, right? You can't take anything, cannot take anything when you're gone, and you
Yep.
don't want to be the richest man in the cemetery. And then two, I went and played golf with my best friend, and he told me he wasn't going to hang out with me anymore because he didn't like who I was hanging out with. And I said, hey, I'm not doing what those guys are doing. He goes, you can lie to yourself, but don't lie to me. That shook my world. And then my wife saved my life. This is actually 2 years before I lost everything. My wife, I came home and she told me, look, you need to take stock in who you are. I'm not happy. And if you want to learn to be lonely and broke, then that's fine. You're going to do it without me. And I went back, took stock in who I was, ended up meeting Leigh Steinberg, becoming the CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world,
Hmm.
later spinning off the company I run right now with Warren Moon, as well as building my own brand. But 2.5 years ago, AJ Vaynerchuk told me he was starting a sports agency and knew that I had great, extensive experience in this space, and asked if I would help. Uh, I was introduced to Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was smart enough through the guys who work for me to say, hey, Gary, and this is the way Gary puts it, if you saw the interview with him, right? He goes, look, Dave Meltzer moved into my neighborhood. He had a pool. I wanted to learn to swim. I had a basketball court. He wanted to learn to play basketball. So Dave Meltzer and I have a perfect marriage. And that's what
Yep.
happened. Gary taught me that I have extraordinary content. I had written books. I spoke around the world. I do executive coaching,
Hmm.
but I never captured it anywhere. I never amplified it in the correct manner. And I definitely didn't perpetuate it in a repository anywhere. And so Gary taught me that, hey, hone your frequency, create a spectrum that's wide and strong, and then be very clear on your message, but make sure you're capturing it, you're amplifying and perpetuating it. And as you know now, I went from someone that people may have heard of as Warren Moon's guy or Leigh Steinberg's president or CEO to, I carry my own bag now and my own weight and have a podcast, a TV show, best-selling books.
You're a busy guy. You're a busy guy.
and Gary, look, man, Gary's wise. He's a wise soul, and he knows what he knows really, really well, and he stays in his lane. And one of my favorite things, I'm going back this week to go do the Ask Gary V show because they're announcing the Dave Meltzer Grit Awards for college.
No way. That's awesome.
Grittiest entrepreneur, the grittiest student, and the grittiest entrepreneur, grittiest student, and the grittiest athlete. Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
No, I love it.
And so, but Gary's like so sharp. I asked him about some stuff, and he goes, "I don't know anything about that." And that's always a sign of someone that's really wise. That just because they're really good at what they do and they're great at what they do, they don't profess to know everything. And Gary and I were talking about faith and spirituality, and he was just really humble about it. He goes, "Man," he goes, "I see a Jewish star, and I know my family would have got out of Eastern Europe, with my religion or whatever." He goes, "But be honest, I get more excited about the Jets."
Well, I mean, yeah. If you just have to listen to him for a little while, and it's like the two things he loves is building businesses and the Jets.
Yeah.
And then his kids, and then his Liz. Yeah.
He likes cards too, right? He likes cards.
Oh yeah, baseball cards, and
I'm gonna do some card trading with him. He likes empathy wine. He likes a few things, but he's good at getting down to the nitty gritty, which is like what I like about him.
I think one of the most things that I like, and this isn't even to take away from you, I think it just kind of lines up with everything that you just said, is really people just need to be self-aware and stay in your lane. It falls right into that category of being the jack of all trades. Everybody wanted to be the jack of all trades. They're trying to be the jack of all trades, but if you're the jack of all trades, you're the master of none because you're not spending the time dedicated into your craft or perfecting your craft, and that's exactly what you did, and then you blew up. So especially with the way the society's changing and content is the new currency, attention is the new currency, how has that changed since you really started taking hold of it? Because you were speaking, you were already publishing books, so you were creating content, but it was almost for the older society,
right.
But now that you flipped
traditional, right? And I was a sports agent when it was building a brand in a traditional manner. What I learned is the stage theory, and it's impacted my life tremendously. And here's the idea that I had. When I first started in this journey with the Bob Proctors and Les Browns and Vitalis, all the traditional guys, I'm blessed to be called a motivator. I'm doing a TV show with WGN, the world's greatest motivators, with my heroes, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Jack
That's awesome.
Canfield, the whole group. But they don't even understand, right? Because for them, you can stand on stage in front of 2,000 people. It can be televised, and it'll play one time. You know what I mean? It'll play one time, and who knows? Less and less people of a certain age group will even see it. But the coolest thing about the internet and social media is 4.2 billion people are watching it all time, and it's growing every day. And they don't have to catch it when you do it, right? You capture it. You amplify it, but most importantly, it's perpetual. So once they grab onto your frequency, and you focus in on the strength of your signal, the spectrum of your signal, and the clarity of your message, when they grab onto your frequency, today, 100 to 3,000 people a day will catch onto my frequency, new people every day. Well, the cool thing is everything I've done now is at their access. So they can go back and watch every playbook, over 138 playbook. They can watch the Elevator Pitch TV show. They can watch my TED Talks. They can go buy my books, all of them. That was
something
that
is available.
People, you could never, I laugh because I'll get a few thousand people on an Instagram Live, and I used to fight for 1,000 people to listen to me. That was a big stage. I'd walk out. That's a big stage. Right now, I can just jump on IG and get 1,000 people, and I can motivate them, impact them, change their life, and give them a frequency. So that's the main difference to me is every single day I'm impacting millions of people, and it's only going to grow.
No, I love it. And you know what? To give you some credit, same to Gary, since we brought him up so many times, that's honestly one of the reasons how this podcast even started. Because listen to you guys, listen to Gary, it's I don't really have, I don't feel, it was like I had the self-doubt. I was like, oh, nobody's going to really care what I have to say. Nobody listens to me. Like, I don't have the impact that they have. But then, you know, and my wife's my biggest supporter, and she was like, just do it.
Yeah.
You know, just do it. That's the hardest thing, just getting started. And then now obviously it took a few months, and now I'm on a podcast with you. And I'm like, this is one of the guys that I would be like trolling his Instagram, being like, oh my gosh. Like,
dude, but listen, man, every idea, look, once you come up with an idea, the universe will clothe your idea for you. Look,
absolutely.
I tell people all the time, in some ways it's easier when you don't have some sort of following to start, because for me, it was really difficult. I'm walking at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And guys are making fun of me going, you know, guys that I've known for 30 years. Oh, where are you speaking today? The bathroom? You know, like, who do you think you are, man? Mr. Tony Robbins now? You know, all this stuff. Now they're asking me to be on their podcast. Now they're asking me to do interviews. Now they're asking me, right? It changes. Yeah. Look, here's the lesson that you got to learn. And Gary, you know, we share this all the time. Nobody can define you, right? Nobody can define you. If they try to define you, all they are is somebody that tries to define. That's them, not you. Yeah. They can define themselves. It's just like joy. I tell people all the time, I got 3 teenage daughters. One of my favorite things to tell them is, why are you letting them take your joy? Yeah. Like, why are you letting them define you and take your joy? Nobody has the power to define me. If they had the power to define me, then I'd just be a copy. Right? Yep. I would just be a copy of the ordinary. I am extraordinary because I define myself and I clothe my own ideas. I don't let other people clothe my ideas. I don't put faith in what other people want for me. I put faith in what I want for myself. And that's what you're doing right now. And whether it takes 1 year, 10 years, or 20 years, you're going to be able to say, man, it took me this long. I'm an overnight success in 20 years.
Oh, that's what it is.
Got 1 million people listening to me every day.
You just got to pay your dues.
How many people on earth?
It's so funny that you brought that topic up, because my post today was, society's prediction for you doesn't determine your destiny. You know, so external forces can say whatever they want about you. It doesn't mean anything. You know, you just got to have that tough skin. Like, know who you are, stay in your lane, and make your life great. And I know we're coming up on some time here, because I know you got a jet. So if outside of that one thing, what are just some nuggets that you want to give to the youngest guy in the room, who, say you're walking into the college playroom, who's the freshman and he's the new kid on the block? What's your words of wisdom to that guy?
It's simple. And listen, everybody, no matter what age you are, but especially the younger guys, ask. A-S-K. There's only 2 questions you need to know in order to get into the flow. All right? Only 2 questions you need to know to get into the flow. The flow of the universe, connected to that which inspires everybody, a higher power or source of energy that you can even imagine. Number 1, how can I be of service? Look at the lens of what you're doing activity-wise every day, of how much value you can provide for others. Only look at that. Look how much value. Then that's the first question. The second question to ask is, do you know anyone that can help me? You got that? Do you know anyone that can help me? If you learn to ask those 2 questions, those are the 2 questions you got to know to get into the flow. The flow of the universe will provide you enough of everything for everyone at the right way at the perfect time. That's all you have to know. If you do that every day, most people on earth today have 1,000 people that they're in connection with. If you just ask one person that you don't even know that question, you'll have 30,000 new people in your network being asked either to provide value for or with. That will put you in the flow. If you do it 10 times, it's 300,000 people a month. You got to do the math, like we said. We got to reverse engineer it. I won't be on this podcast unless you ask, right? Obviously, I have a 5-20 rule. I keep my phone calls to 5 minutes and my interviews and meetings to 20 for a reason. So I can get to 6 to 8 of these a day. So I can say, yes, that's 56 interviews of people that sit there and go, man, I just want somebody to elevate me, to give me a start, to give me a catalytic boost in what I'm doing, the same way that other people have done that for me. I did not get to where I'm at by myself.
Yep, you never do.
I asked for help. I asked for help, and I'm thankful for every single person from my mom on down who have made me who I am and allowed me to define myself and given me a little bit of a push like your wife gave you, and hopefully I'm giving you today. So everybody out there, get into the flow. All you got to know is 2 questions. How can I be of service, and do you know anyone that can help me?
No, I love it. Thank you so much. If you don't know who this is, DaveMeltzer.com. He's on Instagram, LinkedIn. He's everywhere. Just Google his name. The whole page is going to fill up. David Meltzer. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day, and I'll see you at the top.
Thank you, my brother. Keep following me, and thank you for your support. You need anything, let me know.
I will. Take care. God bless.
Peace. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening today to this episode. I know you're having fun because I'm having a ton of fun. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends because we got so much more and I don't want anybody to miss it. Let's change lives. Share the podcast.